Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of research or a book, and we try to pull out the most important things for our listeners.
That's right.
And today, we're diving deep into a book.
Yes, we are.
Revitalizing Wellness.
Revitalizing Wellness.
It's by Dr. P. Ayesha.
That's right.
And the subtitle is The Path to Balanced Health and Boundless Energy.
Boundless energy.
You know, boundless energy sounds pretty good to me.
It does.
So let's unpack this together.
Yeah, I think what's so interesting is she is a psychiatrist.
Okay.
She's not just looking at diet and exercise like a lot of these wellness books do, but how our mental health, our metabolism, and our habits all play a part.
Yeah, right out of the gate in chapter 1, she talks about how energy, balance, and wellness are all interconnected.
Yeah.
And she emphasizes how much these concepts really affect our daily lives.
Yes.
It's not just about feeling good. It's about having the energy to focus at work or be present with our families.
Right.
Or just enjoy life.
Yeah.
So how does she kind of bring all these ideas together?
Well, she uses this analogy of metabolism being our body's energy machine.
Okay.
And just like any machine, it needs the right fuel, regular maintenance,
Right.
and a bit of mindful operation to run smoothly. So if you think about like a neglected car, it's going to sputter, it's going to stall.
Right.
And it's the same with our energy levels.
Yeah, that's such a helpful way to think about it. It's not some like mysterious force, right?
Right.
Our energy is directly tied to how we're treating our bodies.
Exactly.
And, speaking of relatable,
Yes.
there's a story in chapter 1
Okay.
about Sarah, a 35-year-old woman who was constantly hitting that afternoon slump.
The afternoon slump.
Turns out it wasn't some inherent lack of energy.
Right.
It was her irregular eating habits and stress
Wow.
that were throwing her metabolism off.
Interesting.
She was basically running on fumes.
Yeah, when our blood sugar is constantly spiking and crashing from inconsistent meals and sugary snacks,
Right.
it throws off our energy levels.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, stress releases cortisol,
Oh, right.
which can further disrupt our metabolism and make us feel depleted.
So it's like a double whammy.
It is a double whammy.
But here's the good news.
Hey.
Sarah found that even small changes,
Okay.
like eating regular nutritious meals
Okay.
and incorporating some mindfulness practices, made a world of difference.
So it wasn't like...
Yeah, it wasn't about overhauling her entire life,
Right.
but making small, consistent tweaks.
Yeah, and that's a really important takeaway for our listener.
Yes.
Sustainable energy isn't about quick fixes or extreme diets. It's about understanding how those everyday choices,
Right.
what we eat,
Yeah.
how we manage stress,
Yeah.
all directly impact our metabolism
Right.
and therefore our energy levels.
It's about building habits that support our body's natural energy production.
Exactly.
So it's about working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
When it comes to our energy.
Exactly.
And speaking of working smarter, let's talk about food. In chapter 2, Dr. Ayesha dives into what she calls nutritional wisdom.
Okay.
And honestly, her approach is so refreshing.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not about restrictive diets or counting calories. It's about nourishing our bodies with whole foods that give us the energy and nutrients to actually thrive.
Yes. I love how she talks about food as information.
Okay.
What we eat sends signals to our bodies, influencing everything from our mood to our energy levels.
Right.
So when we choose processed foods, we're basically sending the wrong signals, leading to those energy crashes and imbalances.
Yeah.
On the other hand,
Yeah.
whole foods provide a symphony of nutrients that keep our systems running smoothly.
This is where it gets interesting for me. She explains macronutrients, carbs, proteins, and fats.
Right.
And I have to admit, I learned a lot.
Oh, good.
Like the importance of complex carbs for sustained energy.
Oh, that's huge.
Long sugary snacks that send my blood sugar on a roller coaster ride.
Right. Think about it. Complex carbs, like those found in whole grains, fruits, and vegetables, are digested more slowly, providing a steady release of energy. Unlike simple sugars that give you a quick spike and then you crash.
Right, exactly.
So for our listener, that means reaching for a piece of fruit or a handful of nuts
Right.
when that afternoon slump hits instead of the candy bar.
And Dr. Ayesha shares a great example of this in the book.
Okay.
With the story of James, a 45-year-old who was practically living on caffeine to keep going.
Oh, yeah. I remember James.
Sound familiar to anyone out there?
I think so.
But James's transformation after simply swapping processed foods for whole ones was remarkable.
It was amazing.
More energy, improved focus, and even lost a few pounds as a side effect.
Just goes to show how powerful it can be to make
Right.
conscious, informed food choices.
So for our listener who's probably already thinking about swapping that afternoon soda for a piece of fruit, what are some practical ways to start putting this nutritional wisdom into practice?
Well, we're all busy. Yeah.
One of the easiest things you can do is start by adding more color to your plate.
Okay.
Think vibrant fruit, vegetables, and legumes.
Okay.
Not only does this make your meals more appealing,
Right.
but it also ensures a wider variety of nutrients
Right.
to fuel your body.
Love it. I'm all about those visual reminders.
It's a good one.
And I think this ties in perfectly with the next chapter, which is all about movement.
Okay.
Now, before you think, not another lecture on exercise, I promise Dr. Ayesha's take on this is different.
It is.
In Chapter 3, titled The Power of Movement, Dr. Ayesha goes beyond the typical fitness talk.
She does.
She dives into how movement benefits not just our physical health, but our mood, our focus,
Right.
and even our long-term health.
Yes.
By reducing our risk of chronic diseases.
That's right. It's about so much more than just hitting the gym.
And here's where things get really fascinating.
Okay.
Dr. Ayesha explains how exercise actually helps regulate key hormones.
Right.
Like cortisol, the stress hormone.
And insulin, which manages our energy.
That's right.
So moving our bodies can actually help us feel more balanced and less stressed.
Exactly. It's not just about burning calories.
Right.
Exercise sends signals that improve hormone regulation, boost circulation, and even enhance brain function.
It's like hitting the reset button for our whole system.
It is. It is.
And this is where I think our listener, who might be thinking they don't have time for elaborate workouts,
Right.
will find some help.
Okay.
Dr. Ayesha talks about Laura,
Okay.
a 29-year-old graphic designer who, let's be honest, probably spends a lot of time sitting at a desk just like many of us do.
Right.
Laura's story is a great reminder that even small amounts of movement can make a big difference.
Exactly.
She started with just walks during her lunch break
Okay.
and stretches throughout the day and saw huge improvements in her focus and energy.
It's amazing how much those little things add up.
So even those little movement snacks can add up to some serious wellness wins.
That's a great way to put it.
I love that idea. It's about finding ways to incorporate movement that fit into your lifestyle.
Right.
Taking the stairs, walking during phone calls, or even just standing up and stretching every hour can make a difference.
Absolutely. It's about making movement a natural part of your day.
Right.
Not just a chore you have to squeeze in.
All right, so we fueled our bodies.
Yeah.
We've moved them.
All right.
What's next on Dr. Ayesha's roadmap to revitalized wellness?
Well, as counterintuitive as it may seem in our always-on culture,
Okay.
the next step is rest.
Chapter 4 is all about rest and recovery.
Yes.
And I have to say, this chapter was like a permission slip to actually prioritize rest.
I love that.
It's not laziness.
It's essential.
It's essential for both physical and mental restoration.
Dr. Ayesha reframes rest as an active process,
Right.
not just the absence of activity. During sleep, our bodies repair muscles,
Right.
boost the immune system,
Yeah.
and even release growth hormone, which is crucial for cell regeneration. It's like hitting the reset button for our entire system.
Wow.
And this is where the science gets really cool.
Okay.
Did you know that during deep sleep, our brains clear out toxins that accumulate throughout the day?
Wow. Real.
It's like a nightly detox.
Mind blown.
Right.
No wonder we feel so refreshed and sharp after a good night's sleep.
Exactly.
Our brains have been busy cleaning house.
That's right.
But as Dr. Ayesha points out, many of us are chronically sleep deprived.
Yeah, sadly.
And she uses the story of Daniel,
Oh, yes.
a workaholic entrepreneur, to illustrate the dangers of neglecting rest.
Daniel's story is a classic cautionary tale.
Right.
He pushed himself to the limit without adequate rest and ended up burning out with some pretty serious health consequences.
Oh, wow.
But his story also has a positive turn.
Okay.
Once Daniel started prioritizing sleep and building rest into his routine, he experienced a complete transformation.
That's great.
His energy returned, his focus sharpened, and he was able to manage stress so much more effectively.
So it really is an investment then.
It is.
That's not a luxury.
It's an investment in our productivity, our health,
Right.
and our overall well-being.
I think that's something our listener, who's probably juggling a million things right now,
Right.
really needs to hear. It's not selfish to prioritize rest.
Not at all.
It actually makes us more effective in all areas of our lives.
Absolutely.
But for those who are thinking, easier said than done.
Right.
I can barely keep up with my to-do list, let alone add more sleep.
Yeah, I hear that.
What are some simple ways to make rest a more prominent part of their lives?
One of the most effective strategies is establishing a consistent sleep routine.
Oh.
Try to go to bed and wake up around the same time each day, even on weekends.
Oh, wow. Even on weekends.
This helps regulate your body's natural sleep-wake cycle,
Okay.
making it easier to fall asleep and wake up feeling refreshed.
Consistency is key.
It is just like with nutrition and movement.
It's all about building those healthy habits.
Exactly.
Speaking of consistency, what about those of us who struggle to quiet our minds,
Right.
even when we're exhausted?
Yes.
You know that mental chatter that keeps us up at night?
That's where mindfulness comes in.
Chapter 5.
Yes.
Mindfulness and mental clarity.
Mindfulness and mental clarity.
This chapter feels especially relevant for our listener,
Yes.
who's probably dealing with information overload on a daily basis.
It's like we're constantly bombarded with notifications, news to-dos. It's exhausting.
It is.
Mindfulness is like the antidote to all of that noise and distraction.
Great.
It's about being fully present in the moment without judgment. Dr. Ayesha explains how mindfulness actually activates our parasympathetic nervous system,
Okay.
which is basically our body's rest and digest mode.
Right.
This helps lower stress hormones and boost our ability to focus.
Wow.
It's like hitting the pause button on that mental whirlwind we all experience.
Right.
And the best part is that even a few minutes of mindfulness practice each day can make a significant difference.
And, Dr. Ayesha always brings it back to real life
She does.
with these great case studies.
Yes.
In this chapter, she talks about Emma,
Emma.
a 34-year-old teacher who was feeling overwhelmed by anxiety.
Right.
She started with just 5 minutes of breathing exercises each day
Wow.
and saw incredible results in terms of managing her anxiety and improving her focus.
That's amazing.
Emma's story is a great example of how mindfulness isn't about becoming some kind of Zen master.
Exactly.
It's about incorporating small, accessible practices
Right.
into our daily routines.
Yes, and it can be as simple as noticing your breath.
Okay.
Throughout the day, just pause for a few moments and pay attention to the sensation of your breath as you inhale and exhale.
It's like a mini vacation for your mind.
It is.
And the more you practice, the easier it becomes to access that calm, focused state,
Exactly.
even amidst the chaos of daily life.
Yes.
And speaking of chaos, let's talk about something that's probably all too familiar for our listener:
Okay.
stress.
Oh, yes, stress.
Chapter 6 is all about stress management.
Stress management.
And I think Dr. Ayesha's approach is both realistic and empowering.
It is.
She acknowledges that stress is an unavoidable part of life.
Right. We can't eliminate it entirely,
Right.
but we can learn to manage it effectively.
Dr. Ayesha explains the science behind the fight-or-flight response,
Yes.
which is fascinating.
It is.
When we're stressed, our bodies release a flood of hormones
That's right.
that prepare us to either fight or flee from danger.
Exactly.
But in today's world, many of us are in a constant state of low-grade stress,
Right.
which keeps those hormones elevated
Yeah.
and can wreak havoc on our health.
It really can. Chronic stress can weaken our immune system,
Oh, wow.
disrupt our sleep, and even increase our risk of serious health problems.
So having healthy coping mechanisms is really crucial then.
It is.
It's not just about feeling better in the moment.
right.
It's about protecting our long-term health and well-being.
Exactly.
And I love how Dr. Ayesha gives us actionable techniques for managing stress
Yes.
in our daily lives.
It's great.
She's not suggesting we need to retreat to a mountaintop to find peace.
Right.
She's giving us tools we can use right here, right now,
Yes.
in the middle of our busy lives.
One of my favorite examples from this chapter
Yeah.
is the story of Michael,
Oh, yeah, Michael.
a stressed out executive
Yeah.
who learns to incorporate deep breathing and boundary setting into his routine by simply incorporating a few mindfulness techniques and setting limits on his work hours.
Right.
He was able to significantly reduce his stress levels
Wow.
and improve his overall well-being.
So for our listener out there who's probably feeling the weight of their own to-do list,
Yeah.
what are some simple steps they can take to manage stress more effectively?
Well, one of the most powerful techniques,
Okay.
and it's something we can do anywhere, anytime,
Yeah.
is deep breathing.
Yeah.
Taking just a few slow, deep breaths can activate our body's relaxation response, calming our nervous system and lowering stress hormones.
It's amazing how something so simple can be so effective.
It really is, and it's a reminder that we have more control over our stress levels
Right.
than we often realize.
Yeah.
It's not about eliminating stress altogether,
Right.
but about having tools to manage it effectively so it doesn't take over our lives.
And this brings us to a really interesting section of the book
Okay.
where Dr. Ayesha goes beyond just individual habits
Okay.
and dives into those broader aspects of wellness that connect us to something bigger than ourselves.
I love that.
Chapters 7, 8, and 9 are all about building healthy relationships, finding purpose, and the role of gratitude.
These chapters highlight that wellness isn't just about what we do for ourselves, but how we connect with the world around us. It's about recognizing that we're not isolated individuals, but part of a larger web of relationships and experiences that shape our well-being.
Right. Strong social connections.
Yes.
A sense of purpose.
And a grateful attitude are all essential parts of a more balanced and fulfilling life.
I agree.
But how does Dr. Ayesha connect these seemingly soft concepts to the more concrete aspects of wellness that we've been discussing, like nutrition and movement?
Well, she emphasizes that healthy relationships provide us with support, reduce stress, and even contribute to our physical health. Having a sense of purpose, whether it's through our work, our hobbies, or our contributions to our community, gives us a sense of meaning and motivation, which in turn fuels our energy and drive. And gratitude helps us shift our focus away from what we lack and towards what we already have, fostering contentment and resilience, which are essential for navigating challenges and maintaining overall well-being.
I love how she ties it all together.
You do.
It makes so much sense.
It does.
Our mental and emotional well-being are just as important as our physical health.
Yes.
And they all work together to create that sense of overall wellness. That's right.
And speaking of overall wellness, how do we actually put all of this wisdom into action?
That's a great question.
I mean, it's one thing to read about it, but another to actually make it stick in our daily lives.
That's what Dr. Ayesha tackles in the next section of the book. She gives us the practical tools and strategies to turn this knowledge into real, lasting change.
So it's about moving beyond the surface level.
Yes.
And understanding the deeper mechanisms at play.
Right.
So we can create a life that truly reflects our values and supports our well-being.
Exactly.
I think that's what's so special about this book.
I agree.
It's not just about quick fixes or temporary solutions. It's about building a foundation for a more vibrant and fulfilling life.
I love that.
And that's what we're all about here at the Deep Dive, right?
That's right.
Getting to the heart of the matter and figuring out how to apply this knowledge to our own lives.
That's what we do.
And trust me, the next section of the book is where things get really good.
Oh, I can't wait.
So stay tuned, because we'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. And we're back. Before the break, we were talking about how energy, nutrition, movement, rest, mindfulness, and even gratitude all play a part in revitalizing our well-being.
That's right. We were covering a lot of ground.
We were. And now I'm ready to dive into the nitty-gritty of how to actually put all of this wisdom into action.
Me too. Let's get practical.
So what's next on our journey through the book?
Well, Dr. Ayesha takes us deeper into the practical stuff in chapters 10 through 12, focusing on self-care, positive thinking, and resilience.
Okay, those sound pretty important.
These are the tools we need to navigate life's ups and downs, while staying true to those wellness goals we're working towards.
And I love that she emphasizes that self-care isn't selfish.
It's so important.
It's essential.
It's essential.
It's like that classic airplane oxygen mask analogy.
Oh, yeah.
We've got to put on our own mask before helping others.
Right.
If we're running on empty, how can we possibly show up as our best selves for anyone else?
Exactly. It's about recognizing that self-care isn't a luxury.
Right.
It's a necessity. It replenishes our energy reserves so we can approach challenges with a clear mind and a full heart.
Yeah, and it's not just about indulging in bubble baths and spa days.
Right, although those are nice.
Although those can be lovely.
Yes.
But it's about making conscious choices that nourish our physical, emotional, and mental well-being.
That's a great way to put it.
This chapter really hit home for me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm definitely guilty of putting everyone else's needs before my own.
I think a lot of us are.
But Dr. Ayesha reminds us that when we prioritize self-care, we're not only helping ourselves, but also setting a positive example for those around us.
It's true. When we take care of ourselves, we have more energy and capacity to care for others.
Right.
It creates a ripple effect of well-being.
And speaking of energy, chapter 11 is all about the power of positive thinking.
Okay.
And I have to admit, when I first saw this chapter title, I was a bit skeptical. I thought, isn't positive thinking just wishful thinking?
Right.
How does that actually impact our well-being?
Yeah, it's easy to dismiss positive thinking as overly simplistic.
Right.
But Dr. Ayesha dives into the science behind it.
Okay.
And it's fascinating.
We're intrigued.
She explains how positive thoughts can actually change our brain chemistry,
Wow.
reduce stress hormones, and even boost our immune systems.
So it's not just about slapping on a fake smile and pretending everything's fine.
No, not at all.
There's real science behind it.
There is. It's about consciously choosing to focus on the positive.
Okay.
Even when faced with challenges, it's about training our minds to see opportunities instead of obstacles.
So it's like building a mental muscle.
Exactly.
The more we practice, the stronger our positivity becomes.
The stronger it gets.
And Dr. Ayesha gives us some really practical techniques for cultivating a more positive outlook.
She does, like what?
Things like cognitive reframing,
Okay.
where we challenge those negative thoughts and reframe them in a more positive light.
Right.
And practicing gratitude, which helps us focus on what's good in our lives.
Those techniques are so helpful.
They are.
They help us interrupt those automatic negative thought patterns and replace them with more constructive ones.
Yeah, this brings us to Chapter 12, the role of resilience.
Resilience.
And I think this is especially relevant today, given the world we live in.
Right.
It seems like we're constantly facing challenges and uncertainty.
That's true.
So how does Dr. Ayesha define resilience, and how can we build more of it?
Well, resilience is our ability to bounce back from adversity,
Okay.
to adapt to change, and to keep moving forward even when things get tough. It's what allows us to weather those inevitable storms
Right.
and emerge stronger on the other side.
And what I find really encouraging is that resilience isn't something we're born with or without.
It's not. It's a skill we can develop and strengthen over time.
So it's not about being superhuman.
No.
It's about building that inner strength to navigate life's challenges.
Got it.
What are some of the ways Dr. Ayesha suggests we can cultivate more resilience?
She talks about the importance of mindfulness practices, which we've already touched on,
Right.
as well as positive self-talk and building strong support networks.
Those are all great.
It's about having those tools and resources to draw on when things get tough.
And she brings back the story of Daniel, the entrepreneur we met earlier who experienced burnout.
Oh, right, Daniel.
He was able to rebuild his resilience and approach his work with a renewed sense of purpose and balance.
That's so inspiring.
It's proof that even after setbacks, we can bounce back stronger than before.
It really is.
So for our listener who might be feeling a bit battered by life's challenges right now, what's one simple step they can take today to start building their resilience?
One of the most effective strategies is to start practicing mindfulness by learning to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment. We create space between ourselves and our reactions.
Okay.
This allows us to respond to challenges with more clarity and intention, instead of just reacting from a place of stress or overwhelm.
It's like taking a step back and gaining perspective before reacting.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. And it actually ties in nicely with the next section of the book.
Okay.
Which focuses on setting boundaries, something I think a lot of us struggle with.
Yeah, boundaries can be tough.
Chapter 13 is all about boundaries for balance.
Boundaries for balance.
I'm ready to learn how to set some healthy boundaries in my own life.
Me too. Let's do it.
So why are boundaries so important?
Boundaries are essential for protecting our time, energy, and emotional well-being. They're the limits we set to preserve our own needs and priorities, even amidst the demands of work, family, and social commitments.
I know I'm often guilty of saying yes to requests, even when I'm already stretched thin.
I think we all do that sometimes.
I feel bad saying no. But Dr. Ayesha reminds us that setting boundaries isn't selfish.
It's not. It's an act of self-respect.
Yeah, it's about honoring our own needs and limits.
Exactly. Boundaries allow us to show up as our best selves, both for ourselves and for others.
It prevents burnout and resentment, allowing us to engage in our relationships and commitments from a place of strength and authenticity.
That's a great point.
So how do we actually go about setting boundaries? Where do we even begin?
Dr. Ayesha breaks it down really well. She outlines the different types of boundaries.
Okay.
Physical, emotional, time, intellectual, and even material.
I never thought about it that way.
It's about recognizing that boundaries are multifaceted and can apply to all areas of our lives.
And she also offers practical tips for setting and maintaining those boundaries.
Yes, she does things like
What kind of things?
communicating clearly using I statements to express our needs.
Okay.
And practicing saying no without guilt.
Saying no is so hard.
It can be, but it's about taking ownership of our choices.
Right.
And being assertive in a way that respects both ourselves and others.
And setting boundaries is a skill, right?
It is. It takes practice, but the more we do it, the easier it becomes.
Yeah.
And the more empowered we feel in our choices.
It's about creating a life that truly aligns with our values and priorities.
Exact.
I love how she emphasizes that Boundaries aren't about controlling others,
Right.
but about taking ownership of our own lives.
It's about creating space for ourselves to thrive,
Yeah.
both individually and in our relationships.
This brings us to chapter 14, embracing change.
Embracing change. This is a big one.
It is. And I think this is a big one for a lot of people, including myself. I tend to resist change.
I get that change can be scary.
But I also know that change is inevitable. So how does Dr. Ayesha encourage us to view change differently?
She reframes change as an opportunity for growth and self-discovery.
Okay.
Instead of fearing change.
Yeah.
She encourages us to embrace it as a chance to learn, adapt, and evolve.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that change is a natural part of life and that our resistance to it often creates more suffering than the change itself.
So instead of viewing change as a threat,
yes,
you can see it as a chance to step outside our comfort zones and expand our horizons.
Exactly.
What are some of the ways she suggests we can cultivate a more positive relationship with change?
She talks about the importance of developing a growth mindset.
Yeah.
This means believing that our abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort and learning, and that we're not fixed but capable of growth and adaptation.
So it's about believing in our own ability to learn and grow.
Yes.
Which allows us to approach change with curiosity and a willingness to experiment.
Exactly. And knowing that even setbacks can teach us valuable lessons.
Right. We're not afraid of failure.
We embrace it as part of the process.
And speaking of possibilities, Chapter 15 explores the importance of building a support system.
A support system.
This is something I think we often take for granted.
Right.
But it's so crucial for our well-being, isn't it?
It really is. Humans are social creatures.
Yeah.
We thrive on connection, belonging, and the support of others.
And having a strong support system, whether it's family, friends, mentors, or even online communities, can make all the difference in how we navigate challenges and celebrate successes.
It's about knowing that we're not alone in this journey called life.
And the support system isn't just about having people to lean on when times are tough, right?
Right.
It's also about celebrating our wins.
Yes.
And sharing our joys with people who care about us.
It's about having people who cheer us on, lift us up, and remind us of our strengths. It's about experiencing that sense of belonging and knowing that we're loved and supported no matter what.
So how does Dr. Ayesha break down the different types of support? What are the ways we can receive and give support?
She outlines 4 main types of support.
Okay.
Emotional, informational, instrumental, and companionship.
Okay.
Emotional support is about feeling heard, validated, and loved.
Yeah.
Informational support is about receiving advice, guidance, and resources. Instrumental support is about getting practical help with tasks or challenges.
Right.
And companionship support is about having people to spend time with,
Yeah.
share experiences with, and just enjoy life with.
Yeah. So it's about recognizing that we need different types of support at different times in our lives.
Exactly.
And that it's okay to ask for help when we need it. We don't have to go through this alone.
We don't. And just as important as receiving support is giving support.
Right.
It creates a beautiful cycle of reciprocity and strengthens those bonds of connection.
I love that Dr. Ayesha even provides practical tips for building and strengthening our support systems.
She does. Like what?
Things like joining interest-based groups.
Okay.
Being open and vulnerable in our relationships, and practicing gratitude for the people in our lives.
Those are all great tips.
Building a strong support system takes effort.
It does.
But it's an investment that pays dividends in our well-being and happiness.
Absolutely.
Now we're getting close to the end of our deep dive into revitalizing wellness.
I know, it's gone by so fast.
What does Dr. Ayesha leave us with in the final chapters?
Well, in the last 2 chapters, she focuses on the power of reflection.
Okay.
And the ongoing journey of wellness. She reminds us that this isn't a destination.
Right.
It's a lifelong process of learning, growing, and evolving.
And I think this is where so many self-help books fall short.
I agree.
They give you all this great information,
Right.
but don't provide a framework for making it stick.
Exactly. How do we make it last?
So how does Dr. Ayesha approach this idea of making wellness a lasting part of our lives?
She emphasizes that reflection isn't just a nice to have, it's an essential practice for integrating all of these wellness principles into our lives and ensuring they become habits that stick.
So it's like taking that time to pause, step back and look at the bigger picture.
It's like checking in with ourselves and seeing what's working, what's not, and how we can adjust our approach to better support our well-being.
And Dr. Ayesha gives us specific ways to do that, right?
She does. She provides practical tips for building a reflection routine.
Like what?
Things like journaling meditation or simply asking ourselves targeted questions to help us gain clarity and insight. It's about finding a method that resonates with us and making it a regular part of our lives.
And this isn't just about analyzing our failures.
No.
It's about celebrating our progress, too.
Yes, absolutely.
It's about acknowledging how far we've come, no matter how small those steps may seem.
Recognizing our achievements, even the seemingly insignificant ones, helps us stay motivated and reinforces those positive changes we're making.
So it's about being kind to ourselves.
Yes.
And acknowledging our efforts.
Yes. And then, as Dr. Ayesha emphasizes, remembering that wellness is not a destination, but an ongoing journey.
It takes the pressure off of being perfect.
It does.
And allows us to embrace the process of becoming the healthiest, happiest versions of ourselves.
It's not about reaching some idealized state of perfect health and happiness.
Right.
It's about continuously learning, adapting, and evolving as we navigate the inevitable ups and downs of life.
Right. It's about enjoying the journey and trusting that we have the tools and the resilience to create a life that feels good inside and out.
That's beautifully said.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into revitalizing wellness, what's the one key takeaway you hope our listener will walk away with?
I hope they'll remember that wellness is not a one-size-fits-all prescription, but a deeply personal journey of self-discovery. It's about listening to our bodies, honoring our needs, and making choices that align with our values. And it's about being kind to ourselves along the way, knowing that progress, not perfection, is the goal.
Beautifully said. And it's a journey best taken with a healthy dose of curiosity.
Yes.
Compassion, and a willingness to embrace the messy, beautiful complexity of being human.
I love that.
And there you have it, folks. Other deep dive successfully completed. We hope you've enjoyed this exploration of revitalizing wellness.
We did.
If you're looking for more actionable insights and practical tips for creating a more balanced and energized life, we highly recommend checking out Dr. Ayesha's book. And in the meantime, we'll leave you with this question.
Okay, I like this.
What one small step inspired by what we've discussed today will you take this week to nurture your own well-being?
That's a great question.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
And keep taking care of yourselves.
All right, so we're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into revitalizing wellness.
Sounds good.
And we're in the home stretch now.
We are.
We're getting to those final chapters where Dr. Ayesha focuses on making these healthy habits stick for good.
Making them last.
We've all read those self-help books.
Right.
That get us all pumped up for a week.
Yeah.
And then life gets in the way. And all those good intentions just kind of...
They fizzle out.
Yeah, they fizzle out.
They do.
So what's the secret sauce here?
Well, Dr. Ayesha says it's reflection, not just like a quick glance in the mirror, but really taking the time to pause and step back and look at the big picture.
Like checking in with ourselves to see what's working, what's not.
Yeah.
And how we can maybe adjust our approach to better support our well-being.
Right. It's like taking a moment to hit the save button.
Oh, I like that.
On all that progress we've made.
Instead of letting it disappear into the void.
Exactly.
Because, it's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day.
Right.
And forget about all the amazing strides we've already made.
And she's not just talking about reflecting on the big stuff either.
Okay.
She encourages us to notice those small wins, too.
Like what kind of small wins?
Like choosing the salad over the fries.
Okay.
Or taking 5 minutes to just breathe.
Right, those little things.
Those little things add up, They
do.
They help us build momentum and stay motivated.
So true. And, speaking of journeys, Dr. Ayesha makes a really important point in these final chapters.
What's that?
She reminds us that wellness isn't some destination.
Right.
It's a lifelong journey.
It's not about reaching some perfect state of health and happiness.
Right, because that's not realistic.
It's not.
Life is messy.
It is.
It throws curveballs. So how do we embrace that?
It's about letting go of that all or nothing mentality and embracing the process. It's about learning, growing, and adapting along the way.
That takes the pressure off, doesn't it?
It does. It really does.
Knowing that it's okay to stumble, to make mistakes.
Yes.
To have days where we don't feel our best.
It's about progress, not perfection.
That's so important. And it's about trusting that we have the tools and the resilience to keep moving forward even when things get tough.
I think that's such a powerful message for our listener.
It is.
It's about giving ourselves permission to be human.
Yeah.
To embrace all parts of ourselves.
Right. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
And to know that we're not alone in this journey.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into revitalizing wellness, what's the one nugget of wisdom you want our listeners to take away from this?
I want them to remember that wellness is a deeply personal journey.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
It's about listening to our bodies, honoring our needs, and making choices that align with our values.
And it's about approaching this journey with curiosity, compassion, and a whole lot of self-love.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So for our listener out there, what's one small step you can take this week, inspired by everything we've discussed, to nurture your own well-being?
Yeah, what's one thing you can do for yourself?
Remember, even the smallest actions can create a ripple effect of positive change.
And until next time, keep diving deep.
And keep taking care of yourselves.